last week, Xavier Dawkins-Batiste was the winner at the NasClassic opener at Daytona. Tonight, we travel 2,461 miles across the country to Auto Club Speedway for week 2 of the NasClassic series here live on Green Flag TV. Welcome everyone, I am Derek Watson alongside George Karafitis. Nolan Ripple has the night off. Well, George, here we are, a beautiful racetrack, I guess now a historic racetrack that sadly is right now just in crumbles and in shambles and doesn't exist, but very much a fan favorite across the service.
Just like USA Speedway in Lakeland, same thing. You know, unfortunately, both tracks are now former shells of what they are, and just rubble and broken pavement. But they are historically preserved on the sim and still provide great racing to this day.
They certainly do. Of course, the rumors are at one point, possibly in the future, that this track will be turned into a new form of a short track in real life. So far, that has not come to be. But as George said, right now, inside the sim, it is still that beautiful, classic 2-mile facility we come to know and love. And we're going to use it here tonight for NasClassic. Well, here is Aaron May in that beautiful red, white, and blue iRacing machine. So walk us through here, George. He's going to get a qualifying run. It was going to get up here, part of the top of this lane. What's the key to qualifying in Auto Club?
Well, I know the key to this, ARCA car is that it's very tight. It doesn't tend to get loose. You don't tend to have the back fishtail out on you, but you don't want to run that bottom line fully the whole way through the turn. You kind of want to arc in a little bit and then come out, as you see Aaron May doing right now. Kind of want to arc it, then run this apron down here, and you should have a pretty fast lap doing that, both laps.
Let's see, right now he is currently 16th on the 16th on the board. And you see there it's his fastest lap, 41.559. He's running another lap here. Right now, Dalton Kilrow, the ARCA regular, is up on top of the board at 41.250. So it shows you, I mean, we're talking 0.3 of a second between first and 16th.
Yeah, well, as I say, the race is always different than qualifying, because qualifying you're out by yourself. There's no dirty air. You're hitting clean air. So when you get into the race, you're going to have to deal with dirty air. That's going to be a big factor. You're going to have to deal with cars running in your line. You're going to have to deal with running different lines. So, usually the best drivers, don't qualify great, but they will make it count when it comes to race time.
Right. We'll see lots of different lines used today. Well, qualifying has wrapped up and we have a pole sitter. Let's go ahead and take a look here at tonight's starting grid from Auto Club Speedway. In that number 1 position, the 41 at Dalton Kilrow, 41.250. Next to him, Michael Gudger in the 64 machine. Move on back to row number 2, Zane Bailey and Jared Duda take up 3rd and 4th. Looking at less than 1/10 of a second, by the way, right here. 5th place, Ted Reichik. He's the last person with a 1/10 of a second. Next to him, that bright yellow NasClassic machine of Noah Swafford in P6. Moving back into P number 7 is Paul Witt, and he's got Ryan Wayne next to him in P8. Cody Witt takes that P9, and then back in P10 is Aaron Raymond in that number 6 machine.
P11, we have Bruce Dudley in the 48 Cobalt Tools Lowe's machine, and in 12th we have Jasper Crawford. In 13th, we have Dylan Wilbers in the Home Depot Chevrolet, as well as Jim Coleman'sberger in that number 11. 15th, we have Corey M. Boudinot in the 34, and Aaron May qualifying 16th. 17th, we have Kyle Berard in that number 33 Dr. Pepper machine, and in 18th, Pat Green in the number 90. Qualifying 19th is Cliff Adams in the number 78, and Stephen Farrell in the number 129, qualifying 20th.
Moving back into P21, Michael Allen in that Hendrick car next to Wesley Straits, part of Storm Racing, that 89 machine. Moving back into 23rd, Thomas Lane Jr., Team SRA, the league owner. 23rd, 24th is Lieben Van Leer. Had an exciting week last week to Lieben. Andrew Duffield is in 25th next to Charlie Birch back in 28th, the Carolina native. Ford Performance's Joshua Burke is next to Brian Zimmerman back here in P28. These are cars not setting a time at this point. From 20 on back, 29th is Tanner Marr. 30th is your last week's winner, Xavier Dawkins Batiste. Moving back in the 31st, the last car on the grid, Larry Bell, rounds out a 31-car field. That's a look top to bottom at tonight's starting grid. While we got a moment here, let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule here. Look at this schedule, George. This is a wild schedule. So Auto Club tonight, Vegas, Atlanta. Those are pretty normal, right? We go to Bristol, go to USA International on the dirt, by the way, Texas, Phoenix, Talladega, Watkins Glen's up in the future. This is a pretty eclectic schedule.
You know, it's the schedule that, you know, most of these guys should know these tracks. I mean, these are tracks that they run in the IEL Truck Series, except for USA International Speedway Dirt, which is a very interesting one, especially. And I would love to see how these guys adapt to that racetrack, especially running these ARCA cars on dirt.
Yeah, that will be pretty interesting to see. Well, let's go and take a look here. After 1 week, the points are pretty simple. Of course, last week's winner, Xavier Dawkins Batiste, up in first place, with 44 points. 42 is Jared Duda. Aaron Mays in third. Dalton Kilrose in fourth. And Coleman'sberger, Thomas Lane, Jeff Gilmore, Brett Malone, Aaron Raymond, and Jim Duda round out your top 10 in points. Well, George, here we are. Of course, as we said, this historic classic, now I guess preserved racetrack of Auto Club Speedway, 2 miles. What, in your mind, is the 2 or 3 keys to victory for this race?
Well, always my number one is saving fuel and tires. You know, I think tires here is going to be a big deal just because the track will rip up your tires. And, you know, as you start to get through, since these cars are so tight as it is, once your tires start to wear out, car will get even tighter, leading to more people having to brake getting into the corners. And, you know, being in front as well, avoiding wrecks, that's also another key to victory in this race.
Oh, wait, look at that track temp. That is boiling. 129 degrees Fahrenheit, May 3rd, 1:49 p.m. virtual sim time. But let me circle back, George. 129 degrees Fahrenheit. That's sizzling.
Your tires are basically boiling. You're gonna have stickier tires, I'm guessing. You know, obviously, but they'll rip up even easier than a colder temp, and you know you're gonna be a little bit looser just because the track is hotter. But
so for the family or friends that are watching at home, kind of break it down a little bit. Typically, hotter tracks means what as far as handling?
Hotter tracks are going to mean the car is going to get a little bit looser. Now, I don't know for the ARCA cars as they seem to be tight most of the time, but as the track cools down, it gives you more grip as it's not ripping your tires up as much as it would on a hotter track. So as you can see, 129 degrees means that these guys are going to have to be focusing on tire saving just because the track is going to be ripping up their tires, but they're also going to have to be focusing you know, saving these race cars, especially if they go around.
All right, well, let's do this while we got a moment here. Drivers' meeting, as far as I know, has concluded. So let's take this chance and catch up with tonight's pole sitter. Came darn close to winning last week. Dalton Kilroe, you're on the pole. How good does that feel?
Feels pretty good. You know, knowing how this track's gonna race in this car, I don't know whether I should be excited or scared, but we'll see kind of how things play out. Just want to not have another moment like last week.
So we talked a second ago about the track temp being 129 degrees Fahrenheit. How concerned are you about that when it comes to your tires?
I'm not too concerned necessarily about the track temp. I mean, the only time I'd be concerned about it is if it actually changed the handling of the car, which it doesn't. I would hope that a track being this hot would actually make the car loose and want to, you know, step out on you, but this thing doesn't have enough horsepower to do that. So pretty much any track temp changes, I've just with this thing, I've just blown them out of the water and just tried to focus on just being as consistent as I can with my line.
So, of course, a historic racetrack preserved within iRacing at this moment in real life, sort of in crumbles and shambles, and who knows what may or may not come of it. So, winning here, is it more special since it doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah, I definitely have always liked this racetrack, and as soon as I heard they were planning on initially changing it to a quarter mile or a half mile or whatever they were going to do to it, my heart sank, and then I saw that the plans for that even died out, and I was just like, okay, Thank you, California, for ruining a perfectly good racetrack. But yeah, I mean, I know it's just virtual and never gonna be able to do the real thing, but this is this will be fun. Hopefully, I can
Well,
get it.
100 laps ahead of you. Wish you all the luck, and maybe we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, that's the hope. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Dalton Kilroe, tonight's pole sitter. So, George, you heard him talk about it. He's not that concerned about the weather. Are you surprised by that?
Not really. By the way these ARCA cars are, and I've been behind the wheel of some of them. They're very tight. They don't really kick out on you a lot like you would have in the Xfinity or the trucks or the next gen Cup car. And I've definitely raced the next gen Cup car, and I've seen how it kicks out on you in the corners, especially with worn tires. So really, I guess the strategy for these guys is not getting extremely tight into the corners and hitting the wall.
All right. Well, you see the grid is finally all ready to go, starting to pull off here up into turn number 1. Get one lap around before the pace car pulls off and this thing goes green. So last week we saw a little bit of calamity, a little bit of chaos. We saw a winner come within the last lap of the race. Do you suspect more calamity tonight? Do you think this thing kind of gets spaced out and calms down? What's your predictions for the race?
I feel like this is going to be more of a relatively calm race, as last week was Daytona, and Daytona's Daytona. Anything could happen at Daytona, anything could happen at a super speedway. I think this race stays more calm. The guys who have all the practice and who are more confident about their race cars this race will find a way to pull away.
Well, I'm excited to find out if indeed that is what happens. The pace car is going to make the hard turn down pit road. Dalton Kilroe, the ARCA car regular, is going to lead us down to the lane. Green flag is out. We are go, go, go at Auto Club. Well, right now they're 3 wide. We saw as many as 5 wide out of the first couple corners. Had a car up in the wall, but everything is spread out here after lap 1 at Auto Club. And right now, Dalton Kilroe continues to lead, but he is under attack. Actually, he's under attack. Sorry, Michael Gudger is taking the lead. Cautions out. Yellow car. It's the NasClassic car, the Swafford. Well, that didn't take long, George.
Oh, no, it did not. I'm confused on how he got around. I was just watching everybody pass, and all I see is a car going backwards with its roof flaps up. So I'm really interested to see how this happened.
Likely, if you're turned around that way, I would think maybe some contact involved. We'll wait a moment and find out. But the good news is he's moving.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that much damage, but when you go back and look a little bit, in the mind, you did see coming through the final corner, a couple guys.
Lots of beating and banging. You saw the 48. It Swafford touched for a moment, and then it just sort of never got it back together, right?
Yeah, he got pinballed around the middle there.
Well, boy. Well, lap 1, lap 2, now lap 3. Likely no pit stops involved. So maybe for Swafford, maybe to fix some damage, maybe for 48. But overall, this field stays out, right?
Yeah, I feel 1 lap through the race, nothing pit stop now is going to change.
Yep, there's the contact. You saw it again. And then from there it just went a little wonky.
And then what I really saw coming through turn 3, coming out for the first lap, is 3 cars that were on the high side. Looked like they got really tight. I think one of them was the 6, and they all hit the wall on that outside, which could have caused a little bit of calamity up there.
Yeah, it definitely could have caused some calamity, maybe some checkups and some confusion. Well, let's go ahead and... Oh, wait. A minute. That's unexpected. That's Dalton Kilroe down pit. 1, 2, 3. There's a bunch of cars. Is this maybe a gas only to try to improve your gas mileage? There's no reason you need tires here. I'm shocked, George.
I'm also shocked. I wouldn't think that you'd come down for gas this early, just because it's, you know, you're going to have more laps, and really taking gas now 4 laps in isn't going to really matter when you look at it, but maybe coming down to replace damage.
I would think it's more so gas. I mean, right now, remember, 65% fuel tanks is all they're allowed here in the NasClassic series, so maybe these drivers are thinking that little bit of fuel helps a pit stop. Well, let's do this. Let's watch this angle one more time. This is from the 6. This is what you talked about. He just sort of followed the car up in front of him right to the wall.
Yeah, it seems like they just got tight off the corner, and you know that's what's got to be expected. You know, these ARCA cars are such a different type of car to drive, and you know I remember the first time I got in them, I had to ask one of my friends who actually drove the ARCA car in real life to ask if they were, you know, realistic, and he said they were kind of loose. So it kind of, you know, it was interesting just to be in the car, and it's like, you know, it's not getting loose at all. You can't really get it sideways, so it's more of a brake type car.
Well, let's go back to what caused this caution. Let's have a talk with the driver involved, and let's bring Noah Swafford into the Green Flag TV booth. Noah, lap 2, very early on, caution comes out. What's your perspective of what happened?
I'm just gonna say I basically got squeezed in the middle of 2 other drivers. Couldn't really tell if it was up to me or if I got hit in the driver's side and maybe get loose, but not entirely sure what all happened.
So we had the very early caution. We saw a good number of cars come down pit road and put gas in. Were you surprised by that? Was that your plan had you not been involved in the caution?
Probably not. I probably would have stayed out, honestly, and just had the track position, because due to track's pretty hot today, so it's going to burn a lot of tires. So I'd assume having the best track position and saving your tires would probably be the best strategy.
All right. Well, listen, thanks for your time. Good luck the rest of the race. We'll put you back down with your team, and we'll see if we can talk to you later.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. I appreciate you as well. All right. Let's go ahead and put him back down with Raymond Motorsport. And we'll do that here. And, well, now I'm curious, George. We've heard 2 different answers. We heard one driver say he wasn't really worried about the weather, and we've heard one driver say he's very concerned about the weather eating up tires. Which do you think is more likely?
You know, I really don't know, to be totally honest, because these cars are interesting. I'm guessing in saying that the tires they're worried about burning up tires, meaning that they're going to have to brake more heading into the corners and kind of sliding up into the wall potentially. And we did talk to Kilrow, who is an ARCA car regular, so he knows how these cars work. So really, it's, you know, kind of knowing the car versus maybe not knowing the car.
Well, let's see who knows the car up front. Michael Gutcher, who took the lead before the yellow, is going to lead us around. Green flag is out. Barney the flagman waves the green flag. And now he's got Jared Duda on his outside. Here they go side by side down the front straight. Look at them. Already 3 wide, George.
Yeah, they were moving in the back. They almost got 4 wide. It's like they got the NasClassic car. I don't know what number he is, but right through the middle of like a 4 wide, somebody got a horrendous jump on that restart and moves up a couple spots.
That NasClassic car, of course, being Noah Swafford, the driver we saw turned around 180 degrees back when that caution came out. Already back in the middle of the race. You can go by right there on the camera.
Great thing is to see the different lines that these drivers are running, as I'm guessing strategy points, just to, you know, find a line that sticks and, you know, a line that they can save tires on.
Well, I don't know if he's saving tires, but what he is doing is leading the race. That's Jared Duda. Now under attack from Aaron Raymond. That John Deere green and yellow machine. They're side by side through turns 1 and 2. Duda is going to get the run off. He'll be the leader once again. And now it's Paul Witt, Aaron Raymond, and others putting Jared Duda under attack.
And right there, you saw Aaron Raymond almost slide up into Jared Duda's car, which really shows how tight these cars are. And they're just, like, you could see most of these drivers kind of going up the racetrack, trying to push the throttle. It's all throttle and brake control with these things.
Something you talked about earlier is multiple lanes. You can see right there in that camera shot, 3 different lanes being used, all keeping pace as a new fastest lap has been set by Cliff Adams of 41.299. That'll likely change all night long, especially as this track wears in. If the weather drops a little bit, the track should get faster. So here we are again. Jared Duda now under attack from Ted Reichik. Ted's going to try to get to the bottom of the track, almost down to the white line. Look at that beautiful dive. In fact, he's under the white line there, George.
Yeah, slightly getting under the white line. Maybe he could get grip from that apron a little bit to keep his car sucked down on the bottom line so he doesn't slide up into Jared Duda.
See, Duda is doing a great job doing everything he can to hold on to this lead. And man, look at it behind him. While it may be a single foul race for the first two, it is still 3 wide here back for about P10 or so. These guys are racing for everything. There's Zane Bailey in that blue car right in the middle of it.
Well, really, you kind of look at it in this sense. You know, you came from the first race, and you know, since this is a Winston format, you need to do good in every race. So everybody's worried about getting that track position, especially if they didn't do well at Daytona.
Yeah, of course, a lot of drivers came out of Daytona not happy with maybe where they finished due to a last-minute wreck or whatever it may have been the case, but Duda is still doing everything he can to hold on to this lead. Now the 13's down to the bottom of the track, and what I noticed here, George, the 13's having a harder time tracking back out up against the wall.
Yeah, it's because he's got to brake so much on that bottom line. Really, Jared Duda, I think, only has to let off going through this high line like he is. Really, he's kind of braking. But he's getting back on the throttle, I think, way earlier. And, you know, these cars don't really slide really back up the racetrack. They kind of tighten themselves back up the racetrack. So really, you know, paying attention to your mirrors is really what you got to do, especially if you're on the bottom line.
Well, one man who sees the most in his mirrors, Jared Duda, leading yet another lap here at Auto Club Speed. But now he sees Paul Witt. Now he sees Aaron Raymond in his mirror. Those are two names we've not quite seen there. We've seen Aaron Raymond briefly, but Paul Witt coming in here. He qualified a few spots back. He's up 5 spots already this race. Aaron Raymond's up 7. They want to lead this race.
They all want to lead the race. They need those extra points for leading the race, and I know.
Let's go back and watch this real quick here. This is Noah Swafford back on lap 7. Remember, he was involved in the incident that brought out the caution. Ooh, there's a small boop to that Hendrick car. I think it was about, 45, 60 degrees sideways?
Yeah, it looks like he just got tight and didn't know what to do with the car. And as I said before, you know, there's a difference between maybe skill levels of each driver. And I know we talked to Swafford. We also talked. Oh, wow, that
was scary, wasn't it? Yeah, that caught my attention too. I was like, "Oh, that's going to get close," and it did. But you're right. We talked to different drivers, different approaches to the race, different game plans, and again, look, I'm still 3 wide here. It's just up and down the track. Everybody's battling for something.
Yeah, even if it's one position to get themselves in the top 10, they think that, you know, trying to get away, I think a lot of these drivers trying to get away from the 3 wide, especially because the track is going to get tight once we start losing tires. As you can see, Ryan Wayne is almost up against the wall right there.
You can see how long, you can hear how long he was out of the throttle. Watch it again through this corner if we stick here. Watch the miles per hour drop. Listen to the engine here for a second. Look at that drop, 50 miles an hour through that corner, George. That's how much they'd get off the throttle to make the corners here. That's like a quarter of their speed he's given up through that corner.
Yeah, and he's able, you know what the good thing is, since he's on that top line, he's able to kind of use the downgrade on the banking to come down and gain a little bit more speed and then just pop right back up to the top.
So right now, if we look at our top 3, it's Jared Duda, Aaron Raymond, Michael Gudger. Gudger, of course, has your fastest lap. That's the purple icon next to his name on your scoring tower. I'm beginning to wonder, George, and I want to get your opinion. We saw some drivers come down and get fuel only in that first caution. Maybe they were a little concerned about fuel, and those drivers are still a little bit back in the field. But I've noticed Aaron Raymond's not real eager to pass here. Do you think he's kind of riding along and drafting for the fuel saving, or do you think he's just not able to make the pass yet?
Well, this is a drafting track, and I would think, as you can see, everybody's popping up to the top line. And if I was a driver in this situation, I'd stay behind the guy in front of me. I'm saving as much gas as possible just so I have enough to come down for that fuel-only stop, maybe get tires, and get out quickly. Because using more gas means a longer pit stop, or you'll have to pit earlier. which could screw up his whole entire strategy.
So you don't think this is a case of the track being tough to pass at? You think this is probably more of a strategy play from Aaron Raymond?
Yeah, I personally think that it's a strategy play, just because we've seen how kind of easy it is to pass a little bit, as we've seen a couple passes being made before at the start of this run. So I think he's just staying behind in that line just to get some gas, or save some gas.
We finished lap 15. We're now 15% of the way done with this race. Time is ticking, ticking, ticking. Very fast here for the NasClassic Series at Auto Club. Thanks for joining us once again live on Green Flag TV. Saw a few different cars scrub the wall there. Talk to me about it as a driver. It's something that I love to talk about. Sometimes you see a driver in front of you hit the wall, and what is it about that sort of invites you to scrub the wall as well?
Sometimes you're just following that driver's line, and really you're kind of just following them, and you're not really paying attention to how close you are to the wall. So when they hit the wall, you kind of think that you have room, but then when you're greeted by the wall quickly as the driver in front of you was, and you have a nice scrape that hopefully doesn't damage your steering.
Watch this here. This is going to be one of those scrapes you're talking about. He's going to watch the car in front of him get up here in the wall. Let's keep watching here. This is a replay, by the way. And they already did. By the way, keep in mind on your leaderboard on the left-hand side of your screen, it scrolls by P17 currently. That is Jim Comensberger. And I bring that name up really quickly here. That's the first car that pitted. Now remember, no tires on this pit stops. Purely gas only, George. So what they're hoping for, they're hoping this stays green. Those guys back there from 17th on back are hoping this stays green so that eventually that fuel strategy pays off.
Yes, and also the reason I think they are so far, and most of the guys who pitted are far behind, was because of that Swafford incident that kind of slowed them down before. So that's the reason why some guys are back there. But really, the pit strategy is staying in draft. You know, you have a couple extra laps of fuel, which could help you, but it could hurt you too.
On board now with Pat Green back in P11. You see there, same kind of strategy. Not really behind him at the moment, but you see just kind of feathering the throttle. You know, one thing we saw in qualifying, though, I've not seen a single green flag lap, I don't think. In qualifying, you pointed out there was a couple drivers who were using that apron there on the front straight to maybe gain a little more extra time in that qualifying lap. We've not seen a single car touch it yet in race conditions. Is that just because it's not the optimal line? Is it too sketchy, too loose down there? What do you think causes that to not get used under green flags? We almost saw a 3-wide collision there.
I think it's just everybody playing follow the leader. And I also think it also wastes a lot of tires just because you're down on more of a flat surface making a turn, which is going to rip up your tires even more than being on the banking, which will in the end hurt you more than anything. But a lot of people also here are running the top line as a saving method for tires and gas. So the bottom line may have not become optimal yet.
Wait and see if it does as this race goes on. Now we're working lap 20 of 100. And again, Aaron Raymond is comfortable behind Jared Duda. He tucks up behind that car on the straights. And he's got Michael Gudger behind him, who quickly took the lead earlier. Has already led a lap. And you're right, there's a lot of cars in the top lane here. Just kind of biting. There's a few trying to make a pass in the bottom. Not too many.
Seems like the guys on the bottom are just trying to gain a little bit of track position, because I don't know if that's the optimal line. I think the middle line, personally, in my experience here, has been a little bit more of an optimal line. Middle to the top is a little bit more optimal line, just because the bottom, you can't really run it as fast as you think you can. And it's also, you know, an odd banking to be running the bottom at, especially at Auto Club. So it's a very strange way to pick the line, but it is a very wide racetrack, so you have a lot of room to work with.
You saw it there a second ago. That blue car, the unsponsored car, Zane Bailey, was all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, and he slid up as you were talking about it. Watch him again down the bottom of this corner. He is all the way to the white line. When most cars are up against the wall, he's trying to buck the trend.
Really looking at that is you can kind of see him arcing it. He's coming from the middle line down into the middle of the corner, hitting the bottom, and then coming right back up, because you cannot stay through the bottom of the corner the whole entire time, unlike some other tracks.
Yeah, very different about this track indeed. Well, here's on board with Zane Bailey. He's now going to tuck behind that car there. You see the General Tire, the Green Flag TV logos on the back of it. We are still going around to 429 right there, and Bailey's is kind of comfortable. Everyone looks really comfortable. I'm surprised. We talked about how loose this track can get. We talked about the tire temps. We talked about this and that. Ooh, little smoke up ahead. That's from a tire or a wall scrub. But everybody, for the most part, seems really comfortable.
Well, the real thing about these ARCA cars is when iRacing, remade them, they've become a little bit easier to drive. They don't get as loose as you think they would. The biggest comparison, I guess, to people were making originally was that it would be like driving the original Gen 6. But instead it's, kind of just like been a very tight race car. Not that often you'll get loose unless you're hitting something where you're bottoming out. But mostly it's all tires. You're saving tires because tight race cars with no tires, no grip, slide up into walls, and that's the unfortunate thing about having a tight race car.
Speaking about sliding up on the wall, that almost happened right there at the front of the field, and the 64 almost got slid up in the wall while being raced pretty hard by the driver under him and back in P4. Here we go. Once again, working around here now, lap 24 of 100. So now I begin to wonder, 65% fuel tanks. You got to think we're probably not too far from our first set of pit stops.
Yeah, and the real question is, are they going to be under green flag or are they going to be under a caution? That's like, the real question. And will the strategy be to take tires?
Well, probably going to take as long to put tires in, or put gas in as to put tires on. So I suspect we'll see everyone put 4 tires on, but time will tell as we wrap around here again. Man, Jared Duda, a driver at times who doesn't always lead, but always has fun when he's racing. Well, tonight he's doing both because he is leading this race. In fact, there was a moment last week when he actually got bumped a little too aggressively by his dad at Daytona, and he was a little bit sideways back in the early laps of Daytona. Came back to finish well. But boy, oh boy, no threat of getting bumped tonight. He's up here pacing the field on lap 25.
Now, the real thing I'm seeing is that look at this split between the main pack and now this second pack that has formed. And really, I think this second pack is kind of split because they've been running side by side, while the main pack has kind of just been going up into single file for most of this run, which means the draft is maximized and they're able to save fuel, which means that, this second pack may have to pit before the first pack.
That is very likely to be the case. You see a few different cars here you'll recognize in that pack. That's Corey Bodono and Dylan Wilbers back in P9, P10. These are the cars that we're chasing here. So you see that group on back here, and you're right there. Now, you said obviously they're not drafting, they're not in a single file line, but what does that draft side by side do to these race cars? Does it mess with their line? Does it mess with how you drive the car? What does that side by side do?
Side draft will slow down the car in at super speedways and larger intermediate tracks. Side draft will slow down the car. As you can see, they're that is a very close 3 wide right here. They're almost touching each other.
My goodness, that's the 64 and the 13 leaning on one another.
Oh, that does not look good at all.
No.
Oh my
goodness. Good Lord.
Door banging a little bit.
64 of Michael Gudger right there, and that is the 13 of Ted Reichert.
So side
guys
draft.
Are falling back a little bit. Sorry to cut you off. Just one point. Those guys are falling back because of that. That's a good point you made about how racing side by side can affect you. Remember, they were P2 a moment ago. Now they're running back here in P6 and 7. Whoa, big slides up top. Oh my gosh. By the way, first
in the pits.
Car on pit road. Paul, wait, you see the time on the right side of your screen there. Watch that time, George. So there's your pit lane time. He might, but I've heard other drivers call pitting, so I think this would be the beginning. We'll see. This could be the beginning of green flag pit stops.
It definitely could.
So there's the time now ticking on the right side of your screen. That is the time actually in the pit box. Let's see here. Anything above, I'd say 12, 13 seconds, definitely a 4-tire stop. You see more cars coming down. Paul went 14-4, 4 tires and gas, and he'll pull away.
And now everybody's gonna probably take tires. It's 100% a tire call. I mean, if you can make those tires last 30 laps, I don't know how many sets they have this race, but if you can make those tires last as many sets and leave one to the end, I think you're good to go.
Yeah, 4 sets is what the officials have deemed appropriate for the race here at Auto Club. So right now they're just on pace. It's 4 divided by 100 would be 25. So we're working lap 29. So they're ahead of pace on that. See the 90 cars pulling away there. Look at that time there. Aaron Raymond, 11 point. That is different. So that tells me something different happened on that pit stop. See some smoke coming down pit road here. Someone on the brakes really hard. That means Crawford, I think, is what I'm being told, was on the brakes really hard. But at 11.9, George, that tells us he did something different. You cannot put 4 tires in gas at a time. Was that a 2-tire stop, maybe?
It could have been. I mean, if I see the replay, it could have definitely been a 2-tire stop. It could have been a no-tire stop, but I think it was 2 tires, personally. I think he may have just taken rights.
Crazy. That'd be crazy if it's a no-tire stop. That would be absurd, I would think, here. See other times taken up here. Ryan Wayne at 14.2. Jasper Crawford at 11.8. Wow. Being told rights only is the call for the question we were wondering about. Watch this here for the 6. Right past the box. Had to back it up here. That may be why he went rights only, to try to offset the time loss by overshooting the box there.
He may know something we don't, which could be very interesting.
That may be too. Yeah, that may be. Who knows? I mean, overshooting his box, he didn't mean to do that, I guarantee you. But maybe something on 2 tires will work.
It could definitely work, because I know this track eats up the right sides a lot more than the left sides, which could mean that you can, kind of take 2 tires up until, you want to take another 4, which could help him in the end.
Yeah, who knows? Well, let's go ahead and take a look here and kind of set the pace here. So right now, your leader, Dalton Kilroe, is one of those drivers who did pit, pardon me, in that first yellow. Everyone else now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them have all pitted. So Dalton Kilroe, the last car on track who has not pitted here. Likely, I suspect he'll come by this time by. But you see a difference here. This is going to be a couple laps of difference here in how long he can go. Will that matter at the end of the race? Time will tell. By the way, a black flag handed out. I believe it's going to be for the 33 car, likely speeding on pit road. So he'll have to serve that penalty, and that'll set him back in this race.
Oh, wow. That is
Another one, a Dr. Pepper machine. And that's the second car tonight we've seen go past the stall there. Oh, man, that's way past. Had to back it up a second time, George. A little hokey pokey.
That's an unfortunate way, especially you lose the time missing the pit stall, and then you lose more time with the black flag.
Well, and what you probably do gain, objectively, is you gain a little frustration. You might lose time, you lose position, but when you do that and you make that mistake, you gain a lot of frustration, you gain a lot of anger, gain a little bit of stress in the process.
And you race very differently when you're stressed and you're angry, and it's not a great way to race. That's for sure.
Well, here we are back to the front of the field. This is your race lead. That was Michael Gudger, Aaron Raymond, and Jared Dudas. So of note, after the pit stops, Gudger and Raymond. Now remember, Raymond had that short pit stop. So both Gudger and Raymond have gotten around Duda. They're not running 1, 2, 3.
That's interesting. Now we have a 3-car breakaway, and as you can see, Zane Bailey and Paul Witter just side drafting back there, which is now they've gotten to line, but they were slowing each other down more than anything by just side drafting the whole entire time.
Remember, of course, one of these drivers we saw with that very short pit time, so we'll see if or when that reeks its ugly head as a factor. We'll see what comes of it. But right now, working in lap 30. Well, I want to thank you for hanging out here on Green Flag TV on a Saturday night and watching live along with us. Hopefully you're having fun in the YouTube chat. But we are not done this week on a Green Flag TV. Tomorrow night, the Blazing Pedals series and ASRL will be live side by side here on the channel. Myself, Justin Prince, calling Blazing Pedals, and Nolan Rimple and others will be there live for ASRL on the channel. Monday night's the High Tide Racing League, and it goes on from there. That ticker on the bottom of your screen, brand new ticker to the channel, will show you lots of news about the leagues and the upcoming schedule so you know what not to miss. What's not to be missed here is a battle for the lead. But again, look at this. We talked about last time Aaron Raymond was comfortable behind Jared Duda. Now Aaron Raymond looks comfortable behind Michael Gudger. So I do have to ask the question. I think it's wild to put this in perspective. Remember, Aaron Raymond had that lesser pit stop. See a bump draft there at Auto Club, 2 of them in fact. Do you believe any part of that quicker pit stop had to do with the fuel saving he was trying to do in the draft?
It could have been potentially. He could have came in with a little bit more gas and just came in the lead pack as he looks like he hit a bump and slightly hit the wall there. But yeah, it could definitely be, with that, he may have had more fuel in the tank coming into the pits, so he was able to have a faster stop, and taking the 2 tires may have gotten him out quicker. But, I think personally the 2 tires was the really big, the fast part of that stop, which, could prove something if he could do something with 2 tires, 2 freshes on the right side.
We'll see as time goes on. We're already about, believe it or not, 10 laps since they all pitted, about 8-9 laps in, so it doesn't feel that long. So I expect in the next few laps we're going to start to see if that 2-tire play doesn't work. You would think here soon, what likely happens in a 2-tire stop if that doesn't work? Aaron Raymond will get loose or tight in that race car.
Well, knowing these cars, they just get tight. They don't get loose at all. So, you're just going to get tight in a certain way. But really at Auto Club, you're not really using that much of your left sides. So he may be able to pull this off. And personally, I think he will. Because, you're not, as you can see, that because of the banking, you're not really sliding up the track. You're mostly going in and using those right side tires more than the left sides. So, getting through that, you're going to have less. And, strategy-wise, it could work out well taking 2.
Let's see if that does, in fact, play out that way. By the way, there's Jared Duda. He took a peek, see if he can make a pass for second, and then went up and scrubbed the wall. So a little bit of both worlds involved in that battle here. And then on back in the field, look at this, 3, 4, 5 cars involved. Zane Bailey's involved, Pat Green, Ryan Wayne, and others here. And with that 1 car on the bottom of the track, other than that, it's got a drafting lane as he worked his way in there. Ooh, that was a little close.
Yeah, everybody running their different lines. That's like the great thing about this. This track could run 5 wide if really needed. So that's the great thing for drivers, especially with line choice. They can choose whatever line they want, and it may work for them and not work for somebody else. It could not work for them but work for somebody else.
Yeah, this really is a track of preference of choice, right? So some drivers want to be up top, some want to be bottom. Kind of reminds you of Daytona in that fashion, how drivers can pick a lane here. Dylan Wilbur's part just kind of said hello, wall.
It looks like he hit a bump over there that I guess he wasn't expecting at all.
Well, the wall was not expecting him, I'll tell you that. But he's running back here in this pack, just barely maybe attached to the back of that draft right there.
Well, if he can keep in that draft, that second pack may have a chance to catch up. That's for sure. Because these guys are, even though they're 1, 2, and 3, those guys have more horsepower and car power behind them. As you can see, I don't know if they're really closing in, but they can if they work together.
Yeah, we'll see if they do. This track, of course, Auto Club Speedway, opened back in 1997. Not open that long, considering the fact we talked about it's now been ripped apart and destroyed. And had a lot of great racing in real life. Had a lot of great racing in the sim. I think for fans of the Indy cars on the service, this is a beautiful track for nighttime racing. This place looks amazing under the lights. You'll see NASCAR race here, Indy cars race here. Lots of different cars in the service have come by here and raced, and this really is just a fan favorite.
And Fontana's gotten, a bunch of great NASCAR moments. There was that moment where Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano were battling, and Kyle Busch came out of nowhere after they wrecked each other and won that race.
Yeah, lots of great moments over time, and of course it used to be part of the season opening schedule for NASCAR. And since moved dates a few times, of course no longer on the calendar here. Remember, this track was named California Speedway from the time it was built back until 2008, when it was then named Auto Club Speedway. Some people like to call it Fontana. That's what older fans will recall. Boy, what Pat Green just... Wow, did Zane Bailey check up there out of a corner? I mean, Green just came on him like he was shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, it looks like Zane Bailey caught a little bit of the wall up there and just slowed him down a lot. And I don't think Pat Green was expecting that at all.
Watch it again here. Watch the top of your screen. Watch that blue car. Gets up and scrubs the wall. And then Pat just really ran him over. Had nowhere to go. Not his fault. Just very surprised by the difference of distance and gap there and speed between the two.
And that is also, once again, another, I guess, showing of the theory of following the guy in front of you into the wall.
Yeah, in that case, really a surprise, though, right? Just a difference in speed probably really got to him.
As Jared Duda's now passed Aaron Raymond for second place, which may let Gudger kind of pull away, but I don't think at all. It looks like Duda's gaining on him really quick.
No, and I don't know if Duda wants to gain on him quick. I mean, that seems to be the mantra we're seeing all day. Raymond's now going to try the bottom and he can get around Duda again. But it feels like who's ever in second is really content riding in second behind first place. There's really been no passing attempts here. I think it shows you how concerned some of these drivers are about the fuel loads. By the way, I said last week we were at Daytona. Now we're at Auto Club. Sort of an interesting, maybe a coincidence. I don't like playing this way. But of course a coincidence, George, because, for that movie Ford versus Ferrari, Auto Club was sort of dressed up and used as Daytona in the movie.
A very interesting thing, especially because of how much these tracks really differ a little bit. They don't differ in the amount of how large they are, but they differ in the amount of banking. You can't take this track full out, but you can take Daytona full out.
Yeah, you certainly can. Yeah, you can't go full out here. You'll end up, just the difference in banking, right? You'll end up here up that hill and in a wall or something worse. Of course, this track sort of kind of used as the championship race for the Piston Cup in the movie Cars. This was the track they were sort of parodying or kind of, I don't want to say mocking, not exactly using because of the naming rights, but this is the track where Lightning McQueen went for the title in the Cars movie.
Yeah. Well, great callback to a phenomenal film.
Let me ask you something, and I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something first. You know that Nolan Rimple, our normal commentator for SRA and for NasClassic, not always the most cultured. What do you think the odds are that Nolan Rimple has seen Cars?
Well, I mean, I mentioned it a couple times at the end of the IAL Truck Series. I mentioned the 3 cars going into the final race with a chance to win the championship. I think he got it. I think he got it.
Because he's only seen one Shrek movie, so it's really hard to judge his culture. I don't know. Of course, I think about Cars and realize that was in 2006. There could be drivers in this league race tonight who were not alive when that movie came out. That's scary for me to think about.
I know some who are younger than the Cars movie. I'm not one. Oh wow!
Sorry.
I was born a couple months before Cars came out.
A couple months. That makes me feel like
that was a phenomenal movie of my childhood.
Makes me like a dinosaur.
I watch it religiously.
Lord. Aaron Raymond almost relived his days right there by going sideways through the grass and almost said goodbye because that was scary for him. They were 3 wide, and I think Aaron kind of maybe stabbed on the brakes and got loose. But now all is well here. They're still riding again here. Look at this pack of cars right here. I mean, this is no mercy. This is Duda. This is everybody. Gudger's up here, new leader for the moment, and Ted Reichig for the first time. If he can cross the line, he'll get credit for leading a lap. In fact, he's going to. So for the first time since the pit stopped about 20 laps ago, we have a new leader.
They almost got into each other there.
Man,
78 and Aaron Raymond.
Here. Is this like a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial? Did we turn on the switch? Because all of a sudden, this went from a calm, quiet, single-file race to everyone racing everywhere.
As you can see, Aaron Raymond looks like he's dropping back to get to the top now again. Yeah, well, that second pack kind of caught the first pack, and now they're just gonna duke it out, which is gonna let Reichig take the lead and run away with it.
Yeah, Rocky's trying here now to maybe get past on the bottom by Cliff Adams, possibly. Cliff Adams, we'll see, you need a lap, but so far not the case. Now we're going to see some lap traffic go on by in the back of the shot there. And there's our first car down pit road. This is the second round of pit stops starting. Boy, Jared Duda, almost bad luck there.
They were all over the place. I was like, I had no words for when they were like just swerving up and down in front of each other. I got nervous that there was going to be something happening.
Watch the replay here. Watch the top of your screen.
Oh, wow.
This got up in the back of the car and almost got ran over in the back end. Just kind of became the meat in the sandwich right there.
What a great save, though. He was able to, save that race car after it went around. So that's a phenomenal save by Duda, and he keeps it up in the front, too. He only moved down to 7th.
Watch you on board here. Watch how scary this is going to get. Whew. Boy, oh boy, that was a great save. And a great moment to maybe let everyone to kind of let himself get that gathered up, because that could have been awful right there.
Yeah, especially since he had to...
Look at this, though. What they've done, though, and this is what you talked about earlier, when you don't race in a line, when you race side by side, you give up time. Look at that gap on the top left of your screen now. Now it is almost 1.3 seconds between first and second place. That's what they're giving up here by racing like this.
Yeah, and Redkick's got to be a little bit worried that he's the only car out here, which means he's wasting probably the most gas out of anybody. Even in draft, some of these cars that are leading still have great fuel mileage. But, he's in the front by himself, which means that he's getting the worst fuel mileage possible out of these cars.
Jared Duda shot out of that line like he must have hit the wall. He shot out like a cannon, like a pinball at the start of on a pinball table. But he got it all gathered up here. A couple more cars up in the wall. And there's a little bit of a line forming, but I don't think it's for long. And now there is the 20 of Zane Bailey down pit road. So remember, we're just about to that point. Remember, we went 27, 28 laps the first time by. So this would be about the right time for us to come down pit road again.
Yeah, definitely. And really looking at who we've watched pit so far, Zane Bailey has that same damage that Paul Witt had. So I'm interested to see how they're getting that damage on that rear right quarter panel in the rear.
Look at this, the sun's starting to come back out. This may heat up the track a little bit. Big group of cars. Whoa! Jared Duda. Spun. Oh, there's contact. Oh, boy. That is the 64 right there who made contact with him. And they are quickly falling down. That's Michael Gudger. Led some laps. And now likely done for the day. Oh, boy, oh, boy. What happened to Duda is the question. How do you come across it like that unless... Did he decide to pit late, or did he get some assistance? That's what the replay will show. Watch it here. This is from Gudger's point of view. He thinks I'm coming down pit road. I got it all locked up here. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And there's the car. Oof. What I'm kind of confused about that, George, I know it's a split-second decision, but with Duda sort of pointed that way and heading towards the pit wall, a little surprised Gudger went to the left and not the right.
I don't know why you would look to go towards, the inside pit wall. I would just go to the outside. I mean he's more faced that way.
Just too hot. It had to be too fast and just stabbed the brakes. And then I think the reason why Gudger went low for the record is because there is that no contact zone within iRacing. Where you can kind of drive through one another on pit road, and that may be why here.
Thomas Lane Jr. with a black flag.
See if we can find out what that's going to be for. Watch it here. Be too fast entering, I think.
Yeah.
Anytime you see a driver step with up on the brakes like that, that almost makes it guaranteed it's going to be too fast on pit road. And you see Xavier Dawkins Batiste is done with his pit stop, 14.7. Look at this. Michael Allen, 17, 18, 19 seconds. There's got to be some big 20 seconds on that pit stop. Boy, oh boy, that's got to be some damage repairs or something on that car.
What I'm very interested about is I'm wondering if Jared Duda shifted down too early. Now, I've had this happen to me in the IEL preseason race at Homestead where I shifted down too early and my car was at extreme RPMs and just broke out on
I
itself
got it
and
from
hit
you.
the pit barrels. I would
Maybe.
love to
Who
see if
knows?
we have an. I would love to see if we have an interior view of that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get that worked out once we get through pit stops here. Here's another car down pit road, and this is going to be Ryan Wayne here. He's got the right sides up on the car. To drop that and go do some left sides. Here's Dalton Kilroy. By the way, he's taking the lead once again in this race, and he is going to come down pit road here on lap 57.
I like Kilroy's strategy. It's just the problem is he's the only one doing it. So the problem is without draft, being out could help you win the race, especially if it's towards the end. But coming out to that portion where you may get caught by a pack that has more draft, it may end up being your downfall.
That's the fun part of the race. Why we race it sometimes, you never know where things are going to fall and where the chips may lay when the final hand is played. So we'll wait and see what Dalton Kilroy can do. But hey, listen, he's trying something different. Sometimes that's the key to a race, is just being different. And sometimes it pays off big, and sometimes it doesn't pay off at all.
It definitely could, and I mean, I'm not, slamming him for it. It could work. It could definitely work. I haven't raced these cars here. I mean, he may know something that we don't.
Last few cars going to make their way down pit road eventually. There's Aaron May now down pit road. Saw Noah Swafford's down there. Steven Farrell is down there. Kyle Berard. So lots of cars here. Still need to come down pit road and get their service complete. Most of them done, though. As you look up and down the leaderboard, looks like, as far as I can tell, almost everyone is done here. In fact, Aaron May is now down pit road. Scored as your leader. You see now it's gone by Zane Bailey, the new race leader. First time we said that tonight. Zane, of course, really kind of interesting story about Zane. I love Zane is maybe the only person iRacing I know of, George, who does not believe in running the third-party optional paints program. George sees every car as an iRacing stock paint. That's why he carries that normal blue paint. Doesn't want to do the paints, doesn't care about it. Just very happy with the iRacing standard paint schemes.
And even I've heard people offering to buy him trading paints Poe, and he does not want it.
Nope.
That was close. As a scheme creator myself, I love making schemes. I love running my schemes around the track. So that's always something that I want to do. But I guess for Zane, he just doesn't want to.
But think about it, though, from a teammate perspective, right? Think about it, if you were to spot for Zane, it must be more difficult, right? Because you're going to say things like, hey, watch that green car in front of you, or watch that white car, or watch that red car. And you have to go back and think, hey, he probably doesn't see that, right? Like, I mean, there's times that we refer to cars by the sponsor, like the John Deere car you see here on your screen. There was a Blue Moon car we've seen, the 7-Up machine right behind Zane Bailey.
Yeah,
So very interesting. Let's watch an onboard here. This is with Duda right here. This is what you want to see. So let's watch along here. Watch the RPMs. That's just a late decision. I mean, I think you're right about the gears, but I think even if he had maybe gotten to the right gear sooner, I don't know that you can decide to pit that late at Auto Club and make that work, George.
It looks like he did hit a bump coming down, and it looks like because it starts to get a little bit more of an angle, I guess, of ascent. The banking goes up a little bit as you come in, so he hit kind of like a rough spot, which bottomed out his car.
Well, that bump and that rough spot's really changed up this race, because for a lot of the night, it was Gudger and Duda who were leading this race and having a great time. But now Duda's back in the field. Now it's Ted Reichik, Aaron Raymond, and Zane Bailey, your top three. Duda's back in P8, P9 now, after being passed by Dylan Wilbur. So all things considered, for Duda, if I said, hey, you could spin the car on pit road, get it sideways, get hit by someone, and still be P9, it's not the worst fate ever.
you know, he could always change his pit strategy. You know, at least his car's not completely destroyed. He can try to, you know, make the fuel last maybe one extra lap and go on the kill row strategy, potentially.
Yeah, we'll see if he can do that. I don't know if that's going to work. It's maybe too late in the race to make that work, but we'll see if he does. You saw Zane Beatty now right behind Aaron Raymond, both of them behind your race leader. And that time your race leader went really low. He left Aaron Raymond out to dry up there. Now he'll start to come back up the track, and he'll track all the way out to the wall. Is he taking a different line for comfort? Is he taking a different line to kind of break the draft? Or what do you think is going on right now for Ted Rakic?
Arcing it into the corner, and you can see it a little bit now with Aaron Raymond. Looks like he's kind of following him, but it looks like he's running more of an arc. He comes in the turn, arcs it in, goes bottom, and then slides right back up out into the wall. And then I think that's the fastest line you could run on this track. So he could be just running for speed. So as you can see right here, he's going to go all the way down to the white line, hug that white line, and then he's going to start coming right back up out of the off the bottom and back to the top. And look at how much he gains on Aaron Raymond from there.
When you have a drafting line of 3, 4, 5 cars behind you, is there any danger in doing that? Do you risk them getting it run? What is there any danger to pulling off a move like that?
Well, sometimes it may, especially if they're pushing each other, but it seems like that top wide has been a little bit slower for today's race. So it seems like he's able to, you know, keep that line that he's running right now very steady, and he's very fast. As you can see, watch, you know, Aaron Raymond's going to get to his bumper. Aaron Raymond's going to stay high. Now he's going to he's going to run middle this time around, and he's going to come out, and he's going to be a good amount in front of Raymond. And he could be breaking the draft too.
Oh, there's the apron. We hadn't seen that all night long. There's the draft. The apron being used. I got words in my mouth I can't get out right here. So Ted Rakic and Aaron Raymond both down on an apron that time. So both trying a new line. You see cars now starting to move around behind them, trying to pick up whatever draft they're going to put down. So starting to get a little racy here with less than 40 to go. Now those Fords you see in the back of your screen, both the red cars there, those cars, as far as I can tell, are not on the lead lap, so they're here racing each other, possibly for a lucky dog, and hoping a caution can come out. Now this is interesting how this race has gone, George, because, you know, we had that very early caution back on lap 1. I think maybe some drivers got nervous about where this race could be going. But man, look at it since then. I mean, here we are working lap 67. So we've gone, what, 63, 64 laps under green flag.
Yeah, and, you know, the racing has been relatively good lately. We haven't seen anybody, you know, really pushing the car to its limits, really, like, throwing it up the racetrack and giving some people no room. And that's really where the crashes start to happen. When you start doing that and you start giving people no room, you start, you know, kind of pushing them into the fence, you know, kind of gets interesting. But as you can see, Coleman'sberger on the bottom here holding as Charlie Birch runs the middle line. You know, they're running side by side perfectly. But now it's going to allow, because they're side drafting, it's going to allow the guys behind them to try to push their way into this fight.
Well, they are, maybe even pushing the cars forward. Oh. There's a bump. The first one I've seen in a while. My goodness, Coleman'sberger got up there and got a bump in. And now there's a gap. Now they're offset 2, 3 wide through this corner. Everything seems okay. A little bit of a tense moment, but I think it's calmed down.
I wonder if Birch thought that Coleman'sberger was going to run the low line again, and when he didn't, he just got, you know, kind of, you know, last second he realizes, oh no, I've turned into him, and kind of just like overcorrects a little bit.
It would be looking now 3 wide at the track. Oh my goodness. The 69 and others involved in this wreck on lap 69. Boy, oh boy. Well, that's going to bring out the caution. That is interesting. Let me tell you what's interesting, George. We've seen cars go roughly 27, 28 laps in the tank of fuel. Watch this 3 wide first off here. Tell us what happens.
Looks like he gets pushed by the car behind him. 69
kind of does, doesn't it?
You know, couldn't handle that little push and just kind of goes up the racetrack.
That's interesting. That's not something you saw from the live shot, but I think you're right. There was a bump draft from behind that maybe got that car a little offset here and then boop, up the wall.
Looks like a off-center push. It's a killer.
Boy, oh boy. Well, I was going to say, this is interesting because this is going to put the car right on the verge of a fuel run. This is going to get very, very interesting very, very quickly about who can and can't make it on fuel.
Yeah, and that is a
Watch this
very
here.
unfortunate end for these guys' races. Oh yeah, looks like
lots
he
going
got
on.
the
A little bit of-
racetrack. Yeah.
That little off-center bump, a little bit of already maybe making contact with the car above, and just a lot of small things in that recipe equal disaster.
That's the tightness of this track, really showing how you know sometimes you have the whole bottom open, but you don't want to let off and let a little bit of speed to go down, and like not hit the guy above you, and you realize that you're there, he's there, and you're there, and you just get into each other, and somebody's in the fence.
Well, I was
They're
going to say,
breaking
here we
top end.
are, green flag pit stops, but look at this. There are some cars staying out. Ted Reichik, Corey Budno, both have stayed out. This is going to get interesting for those two cars. They're going to have to pit. Maybe they think you can't make it from here on gas, and everyone's going to pit again, so they just want the track position. I don't know.
Really fast pit stops. I
Look at
think
those
maybe
quick
just
pit
2
stops.
tire stops. Actually, well, it could be 2 tire stops, or it could just be people taking
Fuel
gas.
only. Yeah, that's very likely.
I mean, if they know that Reichik's out there still with no gas and no tires, they may be able to pass him. As it looks like the 43 of Larry Bell has a black flag.
That's unfortunate to see Larry Bell, another one of those ARCA regulars, races 3 nights a week, races here in NasClassic on Saturdays, races Blazing Pedals on Sundays, races High Tide Racing League on Mondays, and all of them use the ARCA machine. Let's ask someone. Let's not guess about what happened as far as the fuel and who did and didn't pit and how much gas there is. Let's just ask someone. Let's ask someone who has been up front all night long. Aaron Raymond, welcome into the Green Flag TV booth. So, likely not the lap you wanted the caution to happen on, right?
No, not really.
So, we saw Ted and Corey stay out here. So, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and you can be vague if you so desire. One, are you surprised they stayed out?
I was considering staying out myself just because of how close we all are. We all have to pit again anyway, so it's if we get a bunch of cautions here, then that'll help us because then we can just do a splash and go take tires and come out ahead of them. So it's just gonna depend on how everyone else races.
All right, well, you stole my second question. I was going to ask you if you're good on gas, and you went ahead and stole that question. So thank you for that. I'll ask you a third question, and I'll be done. Why not take tires here?
Once again, a tough call. I chose not to because I'm gonna have to pit again anyway, so take them then. And also, if we get a bunch of cautions, I'll just use them up and then get killed there at the end of the race.
All right, fair enough. Well, listen, I know we're one to go on the back straight. I'm going to put you back down with the Raymond Motorsports team. Good luck, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, that is Aaron Raymond. So look at that, George. He says even with the pit stop, nobody's safe.
I'm wondering if somebody didn't take gas and just took tires. And that would be
I
very
would wonder that.
confusing, but could have happened.
Could have. I don't think so, but maybe. Well, let's find out what's going to happen here. Now, here's the concern. Old tires at the front of the field. What will happen? Can these drivers hold on to those old tires? Everyone has old tires, though, so let's see what happens with the lighter fuel loads as Ted Reichik leads us around. Only our second caution of the night so far, and we are green flag racing at Auto Club. Well, it feels like a bit of a slow start for both cars up front here. Neither one really pulled away from the field. And look at them. They're already two. They were thinking about 3 wide here. There's Aaron Raymond. We just talked to him a second ago. He's trying to get up the middle here. He's already up to P2. Now looking for P1 here at Auto Club.
Yeah. Wow, that was really close. He shut the door on him right there. Reiki just shut the door on Aaron Raymond, and Aaron Raymond's going to take the lead here.
Yeah, Raymond's going to go ahead and open the door in the bottom of the lane and see if he can go ahead and walk right on through. Out of 4, both cars look good, still side by side. A little bit of draft from behind for Aaron Raymond, but it's going to be Reichert leading once again here. He'll lead lap 72. They've been touching a little bit here on lap 72, but now Raymond's pulled away. Now Raymond's got up here ahead of Ted Reichert. And nope, they're 3 wide again. Now it's Reichert. Now it's Cliff Adams. Now it's many, many more wanting to be involved. These guys said they were short on fuel and concerned about it. They're not racing that way, George.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely not. They know that they are going to have to pit again, so they're going to race like they just were. Wow,
the numbers you see on your screen on the top left there, George, that's the numbers since the last lap everybody pitted. So you can see here what that looks like and who pitted when and who didn't pit. But Ted here is still up here. Now he's gone deep to the bottom of the track. Now he's going to slide up to the top of the track and cut off Brian Zimmerman, a new name to the front of the field. Also, here comes Cliff Adams again. And these guys are now, they're going for it. You're right. I thought maybe someone would try to fuel save here and try to outsmart the field. At least out at the front, that's not happening.
Well, as you can see by the, the numbers on the tickers on the right side, some of these guys up front may have taken tires. They may have taken tires, and that's why they're running faster than most of the rest of the field, just because the rest of the field didn't take tires. They just took a little bit of gas. So that's the real question now looking at it is, will the guys with tires be able to flip a strategy that, some of the guys who didn't take tires and stayed out had? And as you can see, I mean, Corey dropped back in that 34 car to 12th after staying out, and he started second, and he hasn't pitted in 26 laps.
That, I think, is a drastic story. So almost a little bit of contact for first place right there, as now Cliff Adams is going to try to get on by. I think the drastic story, you're right, is the difference between Ted Reichert and Corey Bodeno. How different those cars are behaving on those older tires. About 11, 12 spots of difference here is where they are, because Ted's doing a pretty good job holding on to a spot here. In fact, he's trying to fight for the lead again. He always spun him. Oh, that's going to be caution. Caution, 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 as there was a wreck for the lead.
Ryan Wayne got into the back of the car in front of him. They were checking up, and wow.
Wow, that's, boy, oh boy, that's something right there. Like I don't know. I mean, that's going to be one to see on the replay to see what happened and how this can be looked at. Watch this interesting camera angle right here. Watch from the back of the car.
He got tight.
Now watch from behind here. The good news for the most part, all things considered, George, that could have been a much bigger wreck, right? You get a leaner spun 45 degrees in front of the field. I mean, we saw a couple cars in the back kind of getting loose or spun around, but that could have been massive.
That looked very scary from the view that we had while it was happening. I was like, I thought that they were going to start wrecking and this was going to be the big one. But everybody got through it relatively unscathed.
Let's watch Aaron Raymond's point of view here. Oh, boy, he got clobbered. And he's going to clobber someone else.
So something, yeah, it did get a little bit worse after it. And it looks like Aaron Raymond's race may be over.
That's a few races that may be over. That's really sad to see. Watch it again here. Different angle. And he thinks he's probably got it cleared. I got it cleared. And then, just clobbered his car right there. That's unfortunate to see.
Oh, and the 13 also got taken out too.
Yeah. And then the one that I think I'm most confused by is we're seeing some pit stops happen. This will clear up that whole gas confusion. After that wreck, I didn't see enough damage that really concerned me, but Cliff Adams has called it a day. Cliff Adams went from first to wrecked to out of the race. I don't know if maybe that's more of a frustration moment from Cliff Adams. Just, hold on, there's a wreck on pit. Oh my God.
33.
That's the Dr. Pepper machine.
Into his pit stall.
Boy, oh boy, what a miscommunication that must have been about who was where on pit road. This has gone from a very quiet race for 60-some laps to just calamity, George.
It was a hard hit for the 33. Very hard
Yeah,
hit for the 33.
I mean,
Wow.
obviously, it's just a difference between two cars. One needed to pit, one already had pitted, and just no give. It's hard to say who should have done what. Let's watch it again here. Wow. That's hard. I mean, I almost don't have words for that. It's just hard to say. I mean, it's hard for an angle to tell where the Dr. Pepper car's pit box was if he was trying to pull in, but I don't know. Well, I can tell you right now, George, the theme of this league, the theme of this race, pardon me, is a little bit of frustration. There's some heat on Ted Reicke. Some people believe that maybe he was a little too aggressive. Watch this again here, and we'll come back to that point. And the Dr. Pepper machine's trying to pull in, and just has no idea that car's behind him, likely.
That's just a pit lane incident. You know, it happens sometimes, but yeah.
You'll literally see that is, no pun intended, that's the definition of a pit maneuver.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's literally what the move is. Like, you see that sometimes in like the police videos or different things. That is a pit maneuver, like textbook, put it in the book. That's how you do it. Not intended, but wow. Well, let's run it down. Your top 5 is new names up top: Brian Zimmerman, Tanner Marr, Andrew Duffield, Pat Green, and Larry Bell. Now, these cars have pitted, so this is not a case where anyone's kind of playing the pit strategy game. This is just maybe a difference of the field shuffling and maybe some pit strategies paying off, but we've seen Zimmerman up here. We've not seen Marr much tonight. We've not seen Duffield, Larry Bell. Aaron May's back in P5. Last week's winner is back in P7. So lots to happen here with about 21 laps of racing. So, George, from here, what's the outlook? Do you think this stays green? Do you think we get a little bit more aggressive as time goes on? What's your outlook for the race?
I think they're going to get more aggressive as time goes on, especially because these two cars that are in front, the two leaders of these two lines, were both damaged slightly during that last wreck. So that's what I'm really worried about here. Is anybody going to try to take an advantage of a potential issue that one of these cars has, as it looks like it's hard braking in the back by that Hendrick car's machine.
That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Well, pace car's down. Leader was reminded we go on green in the NasClassic League, so we'll wait for that green flag to come out, and it's just going to right now. There's Barney the flag man waving it vigorously as Tanner Marr leads us back around. Quick
Very
lane
bad
change there.
jump for the bottom line. Bottom line didn't really get going, which is going to give these guys a lot more to go 3 wide.
Oh my goodness.
Could be a 4 wide somewhere in here. It looks like a hornet's nest.
It certainly does, doesn't it? Yeah. It looks like very... Oh, there's a wreck. Oh my gosh, there's a car up. That's Jared Duda. Jared Duda. Aaron Raymond's in there. There's still cars moving everywhere. My goodness.
I think the Dr. Pepper car went to the inside wall, so he cannot catch a break today. Kyle Berhard cannot catch a break today.
And that's going to be definitely the end of his race. That's got to be the end of him after his fast repair. Unfortunately, I would think we'll wait and see and confirm, but wow, there was some hard hits. There was a car went up to the outside wall. Some cars are shot inside. Jared Dudag went upside down and got turtled. Whew.
They have fast repairs?
I thought they did. I did not. I had my least confused. Watch this again here. Watch the inside. That blue and red machine is going to get tagged right there and up in the wall. There's Duda up in the air, up on his roof, back on his wheels, and everyone's moving everywhere. Oh, Duda got hit again right at the end.
That was an insane flip. I didn't expect the car to go up and over like that.
Up and over it did indeed. Wow. Wow. You see some pit stops here. Stephen Farrell's already done. Jared Duda's over a minute on pit road already, so I think I was wrong about those fast repairs, unfortunately. Well, Zimmerman leads again. Pat Green's up to second. Tanner Marr's up there. Aaron May. Watch this again here. This will be from Duda's point of view. Get ready to hold on to your seat or something. This is going to get crazy. Up in the air. And back over. a really bad thrill ride.
Well, you can kind of look at this now. This field has been shaken up like we're playing Yahtzee. Like in that cup with all the Yahtzee dice, you know, we've shaken up the field, and some of the guys who were in the back, like, you know, Dalton Kilroe's now up into 5th.
Well, I guarantee you that's a game Nolan Rimple's ever played. I'll get comments about this later. Don't worry about it. Well, here we are down pit road. See lots of pit stops happening. 14.9, 14.5, 15, almost 16 seconds for Cody Witt. So tires getting used here. This, unfortunately, likely because of new tires, because of the pressure, laps counting down, probably gets worse before it gets better, right?
Oh, 100%. Once everybody finds their rhythm again, as I think the 81 of Charlie Birch also has a black flag on pit road. But yeah, once everybody starts to figure that out, they'll I think it'll get cleaner until the last couple laps at least, because you know, everybody's fighting for a win. It's early in the season, everybody wants to start pushing their name towards the top.
Well, let's go and talk to the driver who is currently not fighting for a win, but in fact is currently in the position to win. That's Brian Zimmerman. Brian, this was a pretty calm, quiet race for about 60 laps, and all of a sudden, all hell's broken loose.
Yeah, it's gotten ugly here late. I don't think that's our last caution. We'll see. Kind of sitting ducks here. I was really hoping it would go green. We took tires. There's some guys behind us that had some tires laying, so they've got about 5 or 6 laps left on tires, and that's a big deal here. So hoping for some mayhem, just a lot of mayhem behind us still. We can even out tires, maybe with some heat. If we get some heat out of these tires, a few more cautions, maybe they'll equal out. But we're kind of sitting ducks up here right now, but we'll see how it plays out.
So I'm sure, obviously, you were up front. You probably didn't see it, but I'm sure you heard the tales. Cars upside down, cars sideways.
Yeah.
Sounds a little scary back there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes me happy to be up here. I may not be able to finish up here with these older tires, but it's nice to be here and out of the chaos right now. But I don't know if we're done with these yet. We'll see. Hopefully we can go green, but I'm afraid we're going to have a couple of more of these cautions.
All right, Brian. We'll put you back down with your teammate. Let you communicate how to do on this restart. Good luck, and we'll see if we can talk to you later.
Appreciate it, bud.
All right, that's Brian Zimmerman, current leader of this race. George, he doesn't think the cautions are done.
I don't think they're done either. I think as, you know, this race starts to wind down, everybody's going to start to, you know, fight with each other a little bit more. And as we've seen, you know, 3 wide here, these cars are so tight, they're just, you know, they start to have issues.
All right, well, leaders or field, once you've been reminded, we go on the green, and we do not pass before the start finish line. Well, Brian Zimmerman said he's not sure if his tires are going to hold out versus his competitors. Let's find out as we go green flag at Auto Club. Well, that's a good jump by Zimmerman.
Yeah. Actually really good. But now let's see how it holds up going into turn 1. Everybody's going to... That would be Charlie Birch, I think, who just got a black flag for going high. As the winner from last week.
Kilroe's around.
21's around. Xavier Dawkins,
Oh
Batiste, the Daytona winner.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Hard
7,
impact.
8, 9, 10 cars at least involved. There's the 17 of Swafford. You saw Kilroe go around.
I see many black flags on the ticker too. Noah Swafford, Paul Witt, Zane Bailey had one that he served. Charlie Birch, Ted Reikick.
I think those penalties might either be, some of them are going to be mandatory repairs. Some of them are incident limits. There's an incident count here of 20 incident points in this race, and I think some people have exceeded that penalty. That penalty will be a drive-through penalty under green flag conditions. There's Dalton Kilroe. That car,
He's drifting.
Drifting, crab walking, call what you want, but unraceable. He's just trying to get every lap out of it possible before he calls it a day. Wow, well, this is going to be a wild replay to look at once we get it spooled up here in the system, because it's going to be chaos. All I saw was Kilroe get sort of turned around. I think you saw last week's winner, Dawkins Batiste, involved. Let's watch from the 21 car here and see what is going to happen as the field comes around here.
Well, as Zimmerman said, you know, he knew there was probably going to be another caution. I don't know if he expected it to be right then and there.
Yep. Well, let's see what did happen. Watch here, up in the wall in front of him, and then it just sort of broke off. He got nervous about the car coming up, and then, boy, oh boy, man, they just kept wrecking here, George.
That is a huge crash once again. I mean, that's the second big one we've had. As now the cars in the field slightly go down again.
Well, what I can tell you, a couple things to keep in mind here. Pat Green is an important name back in P10. Let's watch this replay again. Watch the car in front of him is going to slide up here. That iRacing machine. Maybe, you know what? Not as close to there as it looked from a different angle. You're right. He just got up in the wall and got loose, and you see the two getting banged around in that Sunoco machine, and many more involved. I was going to say the name to remember right now is Pat Green at P9. Brian mentioned there were drivers who went and got tires after him and after Tanner. Well, Pat is the first of those drivers back in P9. Actually, I take that back. Stephen Farrell is also back there, P8, P9 with Pat Green. They're the first two. So we'll see if they can make their way through. Remember, every time a caution comes out, this benefits Zimmerman, George, because it's less laps on the board, and it's more time for those tires to cool off.
Less laps on the tires as well, and, you know, you're not wasting as much gas as you really think you are under caution.
Wow, what just wild moments that keep happening here in this race. It just, it's almost hard to explain and hard to have words for at a certain point, not in a negative way. Just the wrecks happen so fast here. And that's one of the reasons that makes this track a little chaotic. It's big, it's wide, you get spread out. But boy, when they come together, they come together.
And my question for you is, do you think we will see a brand new SRA winner? Like in just SRA in general, will we see a new winner today who has never won an SRA?
I don't know if we're going to see a new one today. I know we're going to see a new one compared to last week because Xavier Dawkins-Batiste back in 15th, I would say not likely to be your race winner. A new winner overall, I don't know. That's a great question. Lots of big names and lots of names in this field have won an SRA before, so we'll wait and see if that turns out to be. Well, Brian Zimmerman said he wanted a couple more cautions. There's one. Himself, Tanner Marr, Aaron May up in the top three.
Dawkins-Batiste currently back in 17th, down in the back over there, or 14th, and it looks like his race car is relatively clean.
Yeah, we'll see if he has the car, the tires, the aerodynamics, or just the time to get up to the front here. But once again, we go green. We go green on the green flag. Leader cannot jump the start. So it's up to Brian Zimmerman to lead us around here, keeping a good, healthy distance behind the iRacing pace car. But Tanner Marr, look at that. You can just feel that Tanner Marr is excited to get this thing going.
All he's got to do is beat him on the restart, and he's good, I think.
Flags in the air here at Auto Club. Brian Zimmerman once again leads around. Beautiful jump over top of Tanner Marr. There's Aaron May back there in that red, white, and blue iRacing machine.
Slow car in the back. Bruce Dudley just packed up the back of the field.
Look at this. Zimmerman's doing a great job kind of controlling both lanes up and down the track. There's Swafford back in that NASCAR. That NasClassic machine has been shaken and stirred all night long across the field, involved in multiple wrecks, but here he is. Let's see if he can mix up a win here.
So you may have been right. There may be a fast repair, because I do see a lot of the guys like Kilrow who have come back from their car basically being a drift car to now back to perfection.
Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 wide here at Auto Club. You talked early in the race about there being multiple lanes, multiple grooves, multiple opportunities. Well, these drivers are going to use every one of them as this race goes on. Look at 4 wide again. Dalton Kilrow's in there and many more. There's Zane Bailey on the bottom. Crawford's up there in that 7-Up machine. These guys know the rain of the race is coming.
Oh, we're coming to 10 to go, which is the real time for people to start making moves, especially if you're in the back. You have to start making your way up to the front.
Right now, the driver who's moved up to the front has moved up 27 positions. Both of them, actually, Zimmerman and Marr, are both up plus 27 here as we now begin lap 90 on the board. You see the numbers on the left side of your screen. You see there that Dylan Wilberg is up plus 10, plus 11 if he gets up to P2. Look at that. Larry Bell's up plus 27. 3 guys are all up plus 27 in this race.
See, it looks like the bottom line is starting to get a little bit of a run. Now, looking inside a little bit. But Zimmerman has control into turn 3.
Doing a great job as Brian Zimmerman kind of leading the field around. It's got Wilberg up there. It's got Marr. Aaron Mays up there. Paul Witt's back in the picture at the very last minute. Here's Dalton Kilrow, the car we saw go around crab walking. Has that fast repair back in P9, trying to rip the outside wall here.
Now my wonder is the guys who came in and took that fast repair, did they also take tires with that fast repair? Which could mean that they have, you know, as you can see, the 69 starting to drop back a little bit.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what they decide to do, and their performance on the track will begin to show us. Look at Kilrow just powering around the outside. Once this win really bad. All weekend long last weekend, so close to a win in all 3 ARCA leagues. So close to finishing 4th, 2nd, all around the fields. Could not get the win. The joke we made, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Let's see if he can make it to the altar today here at Auto Club.
As you can see, really, with 8 to go, I mean, Paul Witt has set the fastest lap of the race not that long ago, and he is leading this thing now. As Zimmerman's tires, I don't think, can hold him anymore.
You're right. Sorry to cut you off, but the first time night, Paul Witt leads this race. Wilberg wants to cut to the bottom. He wants to lead, but not going to quite get there.
Ooh,
it's
wow.
going to be Paul Witt. Look in the back of the field here. Look at this 2-3 wide. Boy, oh boy, there is just, oh my gosh. A little bit of beating and banging across the field here. The 17 maybe got to 34 a moment ago. Right now it's Paul Witt wanting to hold on. Remember, Paul has had an incredible run here at SRA. You asked about you know past winners and could it be a new one. Paul has had an incredible run last season, George. Multiple top 5 finishes. Would love to rack up another great stats in his SRA career here tonight.
Now, here comes the rest of the field to try to challenge Paul Witt here. Aaron May on the bottom line with Kilrow behind him.
Yep, doing a great job here. You would have to think if someone's going to challenge Paul Witt for the lead, well, it's going to be May.
I'd say, you know, if they're running that bottom line that, you know, right kick was running so well before earlier in the race, then they may have a chance on the bottom to beat the draft that's on the top. As here comes Dylan Wilbers on the bottom now.
Great job here by Wilberg. Now he wants to take the bottom lane. He's now trying to pull a slide job up on Paul Witt, and I think he's going to get it done. Paul Witt's going to try for the crossover. He'll now be the bottom. The track some smoke behind from a wall hit. Everything's good. And Witt still led the lap. That was darn close. Had that been the race finish, that would have been another classic, close green flag TV finish.
Right here you can see now 2 on the top, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the bottom. So they're trying to experiment with lines later into this race to try to get a run on Paul Witt and try to pass him.
Coming into this corner right now is giving him a big gap. That's what makes me nervous. Are they falling too far back? Are they racing too much of each other and giving Witt this lead? This time by 4 laps to go. 8 miles of racing at Auto Club.
Oh, they're wrecking behind.
Hold on, wrecking in the grass. So we're going to say green for the moment. That's the 2 car. We saw him involved in Sunoco. That is Lieben Van Leer. Had a rough week last week, involved in a wreck here. And a couple others were involved. We'll get some names on that later. We're going to get back to green flag racing. Thomas Lane, I'm told, also involved. But 7 miles to go. Here we are, 3.5 laps. Can Paul Witt pull off a victory?
I'm wondering who will be the first to try to push a line, potentially to try to go too wide. Because here's the replay.
That wreck. That's Van Leer up in the wall. Oh.
Overcorrected a little bit.
Weird, I thought he had it saved, and it just snapped on him. You're right. All right, well,
Yep,
here
well-
I said I don't think they can catch Paul Witt. Here they are. They're not side by side. It's going to be Aaron May to the inside. Zane Bailey behind him. Dalton Kilroe's back involved. That Ness Quick Machine is back involved with the 17. This is a 5-way fight for the lead.
And they're coming up on a lap car as well. That's, I think, Charlie Birch in the 81.
We'll see if
There.
that matters. 2.5 laps to go. Will they catch Birch? And if they do, who uses Birch for that little bit of draft? Who can use that advantage will be important here. Just Kilroe up into the side of Bailey a little bit. Ooh, buddy. There's a car to the apron. That's maybe the car you're worried about. 3 wide for the lead. It's May. It's Witt. It's Zane Bailey. Bailey, currently your leader, down to the turns 1 and 2.
Oh, this is great racing right here. And now, really, in the windscreen of, Kilroe. Wow, he slammed the door on him.
That's confidence right there. That's confidence in driving, right?
Yeah, if you could slam the door on somebody like that, you know the dimensions of that car, you know how to race, and you know exactly where Paul Witt is.
Here we are coming around
They're
here,
getting tight.
coming to the white flag. 2 laps to go. White flag in the air here at Auto Club. Watch it here live. Oh, Dilton Kilroe makes a move to the inside. He wants to lead. He wants to win. And any moment now, someone's going to be named the winners. Watching the turns 1 and 2. It's Aaron May on the inside. It's Dalton Kilroe on the outside. Leans on Kilroe. Paul Witt gives a little bit of draft to Dalton Kilroe. Dalton Kilroe, as you said, come up close 3 nights in a row. Wants a race win really bad. Spinning behind him. Going to stay green. It's now going to be Kilroe. It's going to be Bailey. They'll race side by side down to the finish here. Let's watch it happen live. We'll come back. We'll watch the wreck later. Kilroe now holds it here out of 3 and 4. It's going to track all the way out to the wall. Bailey's going to try and squeeze him down the front straight. Is it Kilroe? Is it Bailey? It's going to be Kilroe, I think.
That
This
was
is
close.
It's a 3 wide close. Dalton Kilroe wins. My goodness. Let's look at the timing. 0.03 of a second. That's the margin of victory for Dalton Kilroe back to Zane Bailey, and only 0.08 of a second back to Corey Boudinot. This, wow.
What a finish. I mean, I thought Kilroe had it, and then, Zane went up the track, and Kilroe got a little bit loose, trying to avoid what looked like a door slam.
And I think what got lost in that moment is you watch Corey Boudinot, who shot to the bottom, looking all the way down to the apron out of nowhere, tried to make the move right there. That's how close it is. That's a slow-mo. It looks way closer than that in real time.
I would love to watch where Boudinot came from right there, because
Yeah,
that was very interesting.
There's a lot to break down in that last lap. There's a last lap wreck on the back straight, which really, I think, tore up some possible race-winning cars. It possibly gave Dalton Kilroe a clear path, or a clearer path to victory. There's the move by Boudinot, but right now what there is a very, very excited Dalton Kilroe burning down these tires.
Well, we talked to him before the race. He said he wasn't worried, and he comes home as a winner.
Well, we're going to come back and look at some other factors and talk to the drivers, but first, let's take a look top to bottom at our finishing results. The NasClassic ARCA Blitz at Auto Club. Dalton Kilroe is your winner. 0.03 of a second. Corey Boudinot is in third, 0.08 of a second. And it's Dylan Warburg and Larry Bell running your top 5. And then Andrew Duffield, Wesley Strait, Xavier Dawkins Batiste back in 8th, Aaron Mays in 9th, and Tanner Marr is back in P10.
Stephen Farrell comes home 11th. Jasper Crawford comes home 12th. Pat Green, Aaron Raymond, and Michael Allen round out your top 15. Paul Witt comes home 16th after being spun on the backstretch on the last lap. Noah Swafford comes home 17th, and then number 17. Joshua Burke 18th. Charlie Birch 19th. Brian Zimmerman coming home 20th.
Moving back here, 21st, Thomas Lane Jr., a lap car. He's the last car, 1 lap down. Then Kyle Berard, Lieben Van Leer, Ryan Wayne, Bruce Dudley round out your top 25. Cody Witt, Ted Reichik, Jared Duda up on his roof, unfortunately. Cliff Adams and Jim Komensberger back through P30. One more car, P31, Michael Gudger, your former race leader. That's a look top to bottom at the NasClassic ARCA Blitz Auto Club 200 finishing result. Boy, boy, oh boy. Lots and lots to talk about, lots and lots to go through. But let's, I guess, start the post-race the way we finished the pre-race. Talking to your race winner. Well, last week I said you were always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Well, you've made it to the altar because Dalton Kilroe, you're a winner.
Yeah, this groom is happy tonight.
Yeah, very happy. I bet you are. The very crazy last lap yourself. You were up there. Paul Witt was up there, got spun around. Boy, how did that feel inside the car?
That's probably the most hype I've been for a race win in quite some time, especially after getting right hooked under the yellow prior to that, and just not having let go my way, being able to fight back through and get up there was it was rewarding to even at least have a shot at it, and then to make those moves and have everything just kind of open up for me at the right time. It just felt good. Felt good.
We're watching a replay here of the finish. We're starting to backstraight, but I want to ask you, well, in my mind, we're going to move ahead to the end here. 300ths of a second to second, 800ths of a second to third. When you crossed the line, were you sure you won?
Oh, yeah. I saw enough of the second place car in my mirror to know I was well ahead of him, or at least, well enough ahead of him to know that I had it. And I mean, I knew going through 3 and 4 here, as long as I at least stayed to the outside, I'd have enough of a run coming to the line off of 4. I thought because I was still ahead of him coming out of the corner, he'd have enough to side draft me, and then I wouldn't be able to get back to him. But the run just never worked, and being on the left rear doesn't seem to be as crazy as working on the right rear. So was just able to carry their momentum out of 4 and just hold on to it.
All right. Well, a great win here tonight. So tomorrow night, you'll be part of Blazing Pedals when we go to Iowa. Monday night, you're part of High Tide Racing League when we go to Darlington. Which of those 2 tracks is most likely for Dalton Kilroe to get 2 wins in a weekend?
I'd say Iowa, because I always run well there. I think I even said it on Sunday, but I know I run well there. So hopefully I can keep the momentum up and at least make it interesting. Darlington, I've been good at in the past too, so I don't know. I'm conflicted. I feel like I'm leaning towards Iowa, but I could pull one out at Darlington.
All right. Well, listen. Well, I'm proud of you. Great run tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. See you later.
That is Dalton Kilroe finishing P1 here tonight. Let's go ahead and catch up with the driver who finished P2. Up. Oh, 1 second. They were only 300ths of a second apart. Zane Bailey. I think you have caught up with him, George.
Dean, such a close finish. I mean, really, it was so close. I mean, we didn't even know who won. Watching it live, what could you have done differently?
Side drafted. I should have gone up and side drafted right out of 4. To me, it kind of looked like he overdrove free. So I thought I was going to have to check up, and I would have been ahead of him, and then he would have been able to side draft to me, but it was the other way. So that's why I kind of just went down to the bottom. So, yep. It wasn't as close as the practice race Thursday night. I lost that one by 0.000, but another close finish.
Well, second place is still great. It gives you a good amount of points towards the standings. How do you feel going into next week now with this race being over?
I don't feel good about the ARCA car. It's way too tight for my driving style. I don't like it.
I don't know which track is next week, but
Vegas.
Oh, another mile and a half.
another
So
mile
a
and
lot
a
of
half.
dirty air. I'm not liking my chances at going for a championship.
Well, going into next week, how do you feel about trying to, I guess get used to this ARCA car, trying to, fit your driving style a little bit towards this car, just to try to, you almost won the championship in SRA, and I mean, you didn't really, you won like 2 races. I mean,
race.
I think you could still do it. I think you could still do it without winning a race. I mean, just great finishes in a row. I think you could do it. But how do you feel going into for the rest of the season with the potential? If you can figure out this ARCA car and the tracks, how do you feel?
Probably the tracks that I'm most excited about is the dirt race, Talladega, Watkins Glen, and I'm really excited for the season finale with Legend Cars at Lime Rock. That's a really fun combo, and if there's rain, I think that'd be really interesting to finish the season off.
Congrats on the finish. I mean, second place is great. You get some good points, and you look forward to next week.
Yep, thank you.
All right, that is Zane Beatty finishing P2. Before we get to our P3 interview, I want to watch this incredible replay, George. Watch along with this. This will be from the roof cam point of view for the battle from the third place car. You said you want to see how it happened. Here's what's going to happen. Watch here. This is going to be through turns 1 and 2. Remember, this is going to be Budno right here. Look at this all the way back, and probably P6, P7 right here. It rides the outside wall. It's hard to believe from right here he gets up to P3, isn't it?
Yeah, had to be an incredible move.
Boy, wow, he lucked out in that wreck. Barely got there. Now watch, he's up on top of Dalton Kilroy here.
I think he used the downhill gradient coming off the corner to try to get a huge run and use the apron. Like I said, I know a lot of people do that.
Well, let's ask him how he did it. We just watched one lap on board. Corey, we just watched the onboard of your last lap. 0.08 of a second is all you lost by. That's darn close.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think about even going to the apron until the last very living second. I'm like, well, we're going for a win, I guess.
So, obviously, I hate to use the word luck, but I think it's fair. You lucked out by the wreck avoiding you in the last lap, and then you kind of got away from it. How concerned were you when you saw that wreck happening in front of you?
Well, first off, my whole luck started early on. On lap 50, I decided I'd pit and forgot to raise my fuel up from where I was originally going to strategize from. And so I went a lap down and was at the back 20 somewhere for a little bit. And then we had that one caution on the front stretch. That kind of helped me, and I stayed out. And then literally I had half a gallon left on the fuel when we got that next caution, and wow, that's really what helped me get up at the front and stay up at the front.
Well, 3 cars within 0.08 of a second has got to be just one of the all-time classic SRA finishes. So unfortunately, you're on maybe not the side of that you want to be on. But we look ahead here. We got Vegas up on the schedule. We got the dirt track. We got Talladega. We got the Glen. So many different tracks up ahead here in the next couple months. What tracks stand out to you as tracks you're looking forward to?
No one's going to hate this answer, but I'm going to say the dirt track because I'm a dirt driver. I got about 4,500, 4,600 I rating on the dirt. I'm ready for that dirt race.
All right. Well, listen, it's going to be a pleasure watching there. Congrats tonight on P3, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
All right. That is Corey Budno, the driver of the 34, the third place car. Well, George, tonight we saw a little bit of everything. We saw some good green flag, clean racing. We saw some beating and banging, some bump drafts, some upset drivers. No matter what you were looking for, you got something of it here.
Close finishes, a car flipped, some great racing, and, the wrecks. Everything you could have asked for in a race is just right here at Auto Club.
Right here at Auto Club. And well, speaking of right here on Green Flag TV, 1 week from tonight, let's take a look and get a small peek at our next track. It's going to be Las Vegas. We're going to roll the dice and see who Lady Luck wants to smile upon. But also, right here on this channel on Green Flag TV tomorrow night, 2 races. The ASRL goes to Phoenix. Blazing Petals goes to Iowa. So keep tuned in for all the exciting racing action here live on Green Flag TV. And of course, when it comes to the NasClassic SRA series, you can see this race and every race here on our YouTube channel. Our producer has been Dustin Ollis, color commentator George Karafitas, and myself, Derek Watson, saying thank you for tuning in and have a great night.